There are 3 new boxes on the way, a Battleforce and 2 boarding patrols, and I'm telling you right now that the 2 boarding patrols may have set up the perfect storyline for the new Space Hulk based boarding actions. So Vastra and Abaddon are doing the whole Arcs of Omen thing and intricate plans and so on and so forth, you know, classic villain style planning and executing to make the Imperium pay for all of their stuff, what they do, all of that stuff. You know, your classic 40k story. And to mark this, there are going to be boarding patrol boxes. Now, boarding patrol boxes I think is actually quite a good idea because that means that you have another way into that part of the game, also provides a nice foundation for starting a full 2,000 point army if you want to. A kind of alternative, if you will, to the combat patrols, which are also 500 points, but those are like a different type because they have certain unit types that aren't allowed in boarding patrols. Most importantly, the first 2 boarding patrol boxes are amazing because they tell a story all of their own. For a start, the Chaos Space Marines one is more than 500 points, so you're going to have to cut stuff out of it to fit all of that in there, although that is because, for some reason, they included Abaddon the Despoiler. Now, I'm assuming they included him because this is his brainchild, it's part of his new strategy, it's part of his master plan along with Vashtor the Archivane, so putting him in there I can kind of see, but also putting him in there, that's 350 points gone. Just straight off the bat, 350 points of that box is Abaddon the Despoiler, which, I mean, that's a significant chunk of your allowance gone on one character. And what makes me laugh is the fact that the Space Marines box does not have a named character in there. Now, of course, they don't have to put a named character in there. They could have put, like, Calgar in there, for instance, or maybe even Gilliman, but instead they went for a Gravis captain, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that, but it does produce an amazing narrative. A Captain No-Name, Captain some Ultramarine, Captain some dude entering a Space Hulk with his force, with his heavy intercessors and assault intercessors also featuring Grenade Man, the only Space Marine to go onto the battlefield holding nothing but grenades. It's my new favourite character right there. They make their way through the labyrinthine twisting halls of the Space Hulk, going past broken down machinery, haunted engine chambers and twisted passageways, and finally, after hours of exploration, they round a corner. The Gravis captain takes the lead. He can hear his own footsteps reverberating off the metal walls around him, and as he turns the corner, who does he find? It's only Abaddon, the goddamn Despoiler, stood there with his sword made out of demon and Horus's massive power claw looking at him with probably an expression of, who the hell are you and how quickly do you want to leave? I mean, what, poor sod. Poor lad. That captain, he was all down to just explore a Space Hulk and secure it for the Imperium, and what does he get instead? He gets an absolute smackdown by the Warmaster. I mean, come on, give him a chance. Now, of course, these boxes weren't brought out to be a direct one-to-one counter to each other. That's not what it is. It's just a boarding patrol. But I love the fact that they've done these next to each other. I mean, no matter what you put next to the one containing Abaddon the Despoiler, it's gonna look kind of funny, if only because of the severe mismatch of HQ choices. Anyway, the actual contents of the box is you've got a captain in Gravis armour, and you've got some heavy intercessors, 5 of them, and you've got some assault marines with the aforementioned Grenade Man. So it's a decent range. So you've got a nice bunch of up-close action and some nice heavy armoured units with a bit of long-range firepower. I think that's a pretty fun mix for a boarding patrol, honestly. It does feel like something that works in that context. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure how well this works in that context. I mean, Abaddon, some Chaos Space Marines, and a bunch of idiots. I mean, sure, it is what it is. I think, honestly, personally, I wouldn't have put Abaddon in there just because it frees up more of the box for other stuff. As it stands, you've got a close combat monster, a bunch of chaff, and just some Space Marines. Admittedly, this box doesn't feel quite as like scenario appropriate to me, but I don't know. Maybe that's not fair. I think it's the massive cultists, the 20 cultists that are in there. It feels like there's a lot of chaff. But at the same time, it also feels like there's not a lot in there other than cultists because Abaddon is taking up so much of the points allowance. So I can see why they put him in there. I can. I just think I would have probably gone for like a generic Lord or a generic HQ to be able to fill out the rest of the box in a more interesting way. But you know, when you stick a big old point sink like Abaddon in there when you've only got 500 to play with. I mean, the box comes with more points than you can actually fit. Like, you have to leave cultists at home to be able to use it, which they do mention in the article. It's like, you're going to have to trim some stuff down. This isn't actually boarding patrol size. It's bigger than that. I'm assuming it's going to be like a particular, like, it's got to be like an odd number of cultists, something, hasn't it? It's going to end up being like not 10 or 20, but it's going to be like 13 or something like that, depending on what you take on the Chaos Space Marines in terms of war gear and stuff. It'll be something like that, I think. I think for me, the Space Marine one just leaves more room for expansion, more room for kind of tailoring the list a bit more with adding a few other units in from the army, whereas this gives you a really, like, limited amount of space to play with because of the HQ that's in there. I mean, that being said, badass HQ. Really, really cool HQ, but yeah, it's a big investment for 500 points, you know? Now, we also have a Balefleet Battleforce, which I like the look of because it contains some of my favourite things. It contains a Demon Prince, that's a tick. It contains Possessed Chaos Space Marines, that's also a tick. It contains Terminators. I love me some Terminators. I've got a metric shed load of Terminators. Love that, also a tick. And it's got a Helldrake, which I've always wanted one, but I don't want to paint it because look at it. I'm down for a challenge, I'm down for a bit of trim, but that can just walk all the way off a long pier into the sea. I don't want to paint that, but I will concede that I do like the model. It is a fun box, but I will tell you right now that the monopose style of the new Possessed really stands out in this box. It really stands out. Individually, I think each of these Possessed are fantastic. We've already talked about them. They kind of tread the line between the old goofy Possessed, the greater Possessed that existed very briefly, and the Galvorback from Forge World. They're nowhere near as good as the Galvorback, let's be honest. They're good, but they're not that good. But then again, nothing is. But dear lord, do those poses repeat badly. Like, the dude with the 3 spiny things sticking out of the arm socket, that is so noticeable. How, like, just the fact that it's the same, the fact that you've got the same thing twice, it stands out really badly. Really, really badly. That is such a distinct silhouette that you can see that there's 2 of them instantly. Now, I've yet to put my box of these together, so I don't know right now how much customization you can do. I've had a quick glance at the sprues, and it looks like there is a little bit of chopping and changing you might be able to manage, but overall, like, don't put them together the same way if you get this box. Even if it means chopping limbs off, swapping them around, and then doing a bit of green stuff work to hide the gaps, I really think you've got to really go out of your way to make them look properly unique, because that, like, the repeated poses, they stand out really severely. They stand out really severely on that picture. So, you know, that's something that could potentially just be fixed and it wouldn't be a problem, but it does stand out to me on that image. So there you go, 3 new boxes on the way. One hilarious narrative, if you chose to do it that way. And I think there's some decent stuff in there overall. I'm super curious to see how much these boarding patrols are. My gut instinct is that they'll be the same as the combat patrols because the points value are pretty much the same, I think. But then again, I don't know, because 10 assault intercessors, 5 heavy intercessors, and a Gravis captain is... You wouldn't get much savings if it was a combat patrol price box, would you? So it might be that these are a bit cheaper. There's wishful thinking for you, innit? Let me know what you think of those in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to buy these when they're released. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.